Front page of the Wall Street Journal this morning, Mika, says it all.
It does. Republicans are trying to make major inroads in the Northeast, tough territory in recent years. A new CBS New York Times poll shows Senator Jeanne Shaheen up 5 in New Hampshire over Scott Brown. Despite what were thought to be long odds in New Hampshire, MSNBC political correspondent Kasie Hunt reports Brown is closer than ever to pulling off what would be a stunning upset.
Do you think Scott Brown cares about New Hampshire? All right.
It wasn't supposed to be so hard for Jeanne Shaheen to beat Scott Brown. Democrats have been counting on her to help them keep the Senate, but they weren't counting on crisis after crisis, stoking Americans' anxiety.
And they're definitely concerned about not only Ebola, but other diseases coming into our country. And it's a rational fear.
We face some serious challenges, and it requires serious-minded people to address those challenges. New Hampshire deserves better than Scott Brown's fear-mongering and grandstanding.
Shaheen is still in a stronger position than many Democrats who are in close races this year. But Brown is closing in, and polls show President Obama is more toxic than ever.
Well, I never said I didn't want President Obama to come and campaign.
The president's approval rating in New Hampshire is lower than the national average. Shaheen needs Democratic activists to show up, but she still has to keep her distance.
The fact is, he's busy in Washington. He's dealing with the Ebola threat. He's dealing with the threat from ISIS. I think he's exactly where he needs to be.
Is President Obama helping you in the final weeks of your campaign?
You know, you and Scott Brown keep wanting to make this race about the president, but this race is about New Hampshire. I know why Scott Brown doesn't want to talk about New Hampshire, because he hasn't been here.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Scott Brown has been working hard at his trademark style of retail politicking. He's poured pints, tailgated, and this weekend he sampled the brews at a Portsmouth beer festival.
What is your favorite of the beers so far that you've tried in the past?
I try to treat all beers equally.
In the campaign's final weeks, Brown has hammered Shaheen over Ebola.
Do you think Americans should be concerned about an outbreak in the United States?
Oh, gosh, I pray every day that doesn't happen. But the president said that he was going to stomp it out. It was never going to be a problem. But the fact that he hired a political guy who has no experience in this at all, I would have hired, and I would have recommended hiring the #1 guy in the entire world. Please come to the United States and give us guidance.
The #1 guy, who would you have hired?
Whoever that #1 person is in the world, I would have gone after him or her.
If he wins, Brown would become the first candidate in more than 150 years to win Senate seats in 2 different states. If he loses, he would be the first to run in 2 states and be defeated by 2 women.
This is about who's going to best represent New Hampshire, who's going to fight for our middle-class families, who's going to fight for our small businesses.
You've seen the response. It's all positive. The momentum feels very, very good. I'm going to stand by my record.